What's going on, Falcon fan? This Workundo coming back at you with another video. So today, guys, on Falcon Fans Talk Wednesday, where there's not a whole lot going on in football land, still going to talk some Atlanta Falcons talk today. And today, we're going to answer the question: what would be considered a successful season for Atlanta Falcons in 2024? So, guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to this channel. Please hit that notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button, as I know you guys like to hear what I talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in and hear me talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, when the season starts, every team comes out and their aspiration is the Super Bowl. It's really no ifs, ands, but what's going on, EQ? Everybody knows that every team comes out, their aspiration is the Super Bowl. Some fan bases are more delusional than other fan bases. Like we don't want to say that one team down in Texas. Every year they think they're going to the Super Bowl, and every year for like the last almost 30 years, they haven't even made it to an NFC Championship game. So you know, but the expectations is always there. You know, success to them. I guess now success is Super Bowl to bust, right? Because every year it seems like somebody is trying to determine, from a fan base that they're going to be the team that make it this year. But in reality, you have to take a look back and you look at the state of your team and things like that, and you got to find, what success look like. When teams are, starting over, bringing in new coaching staff, new front office personnel, they have a plan, right? And we know for a fact that, when Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot took over, they established their plan. And we know that it sounds like it was a 3-year plan to start out with. And we see what happened with that, right? So, now Terry Fontenot, the GM, was able to keep his job. However, from the coaching standpoint, Arthur Smith was not. And I really believe that one of the reasons why he was not, because let's be honest, the team underachieved last year, right? They did not, meet the expectations that the fans, us, what we felt like, and I guess, of course, the ownership, and I think themselves, right? They all probably agree that they fell below expectations last year. Now, you put in the factors of the reason because of that. You could say, it could have been injuries, right? We did have some people get graded Jared, on our best players on the defensive side of the ball, got hurt. Um, right, we lost Avery Williams to start the season, one of the most, um, according to the statistics, better return means in the game last year. Right, we started out with a second year quarterback, that was still trying to find his way. Only had 4 starts on the season, so it was a lot of factors that you factor in. We had a new defensive coordinator come in, try to implement his new defensive scheme, right? So it's a lot of things that you can contribute to why the Falcons didn't meet the expectations that they felt like they was going to meet. But in the end of the day, they did not meet those expectations, right? And thus, that's where we're at right now. Right now, we got a whole new coaching staff. Um, Looks like the team has a different plan. Now we don't know, Raheem Morris, the plan that him and Terry Fontenot got out and laid out the timeline now where they think, they should be in the next 3 years. But we do know that this year, they have a specific goal that they're trying to reach, and so from a fan base perspective, we already have our idea of what a successful season was going to be, what the expectation is going to be, and we're definitely going to dive in that today. Of course, I always break it up in in segments and bullets and stuff, and kind of dissect every little piece of it. This is my opinion, right, and what I think the Atlanta Falcons going to be a successful season. Some people could be on the point where we got to get to the Super Bowl, right? We paid $180 million to Kirk Cousins. Um, he need to hit the ground running, come out, and anything less than that, will be a failure. Right? That's what some people could think, right? And that's their opinion. They can believe that, and That's the way it is, right? But for me, we're gonna break down in different pieces what I think from successful season for this Atlanta Falcons in 2024 will be. And guys, give me your input, give me your thoughts, what you think about it. What's going on, 330? We finna get into it right now. So the first thing we're gonna talk about, because at the end of the day, it is a team, right? So we're gonna talk about the team success, right? What would make a success for the team this this year, right? What would make a success for this team this year? And let me go ahead and change change that too, because I don't have enough C's there. All right, all right, all right. All right. So, like I said, what would make a team success this year? All right. So, from a team perspective, we know it's all about a team. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you come to team sports and NFL, professional football is the ultimate team sport, right? So, to team success should be the first thing when you're looking at what successful season will be for the Atlanta Falcons this year, right? So, um, first, you go and you look at numbers, right? The Atlanta Falcons probably want to be in the top 10 um, in offense this year, right? Brought in Kirk Cousins, you got the weapons around him. It seems like the pieces around fit the new scheme that Zach Robinson is going to be running, right? So when you think about things like that, the Falcons probably want to be in the top 10 in offense, right? Maybe even the top five, but you can, for me, top 10 would be a success. The Atlanta Falcons can be a top 10 offense this year. I see that as a team success for me from a team perspective, especially from the offensive side of the ball, being the top 10 on the offensive side for me would be team success. Go to the defensive side. Now, we heard Jesse Bates mention that he wanted to be top five in two different categories, right, on the defensive side of the ball. And if that happens, that would be outstanding. However, for me, once again, Atlanta Falcons would be a top 10 defense, right? So, from a team perspective, the Atlanta Falcons would be a top 10 um, offensive team and the top 10 defensive team. To me, that bold success, right? That's where the Atlanta Falcons should be trying to see themselves from a team perspective, looking at a team, um, try to be a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. If they can do that, we're going to be looking really good, at the end of the season, right? When the numbers drop down, Atlanta Falcons end up being top 10 in both of those categories. I think it will be a success, right? Now, when you're looking at, we're looking at records and things like that. I still haven't put the number because I haven't actually went through the schedule and break down win and losses and things like that. But if the Atlanta Falcons get to 11 wins this season, I think that'll be a success, right? If I think they get to 10 wins, I think they kind of unachieve a little bit, but 11 wins in my opinion would be really really good for them. So when you're looking at team success, top 10 offense, top 10 defense, 11 wins on the season, man, Atlanta Falcons are really um, trending in the right direction, right? That's what you want to see. So for me, 11 wins this season, my opinion, would be a success for the Atlanta Falcons, right? Looking at the schedule, quarter numbers, even though you don't go by last year's records and talking about easiest schedule, toughest schedule, things like that. However, Atlanta Falcons do have the third place schedule. They got the easiest schedule in the NFL, and they should at least at win 11 games. That's just for me would be a success for me for the Atlanta Falcons, right? All right. Last thing, they should win NFC South. Will 11 wins get them there? I think so, right? I think if they can win 11 games, I think 11 wins probably will help them win NFC South. And if they win NFC South, they get to host a playoff game, right? So from a team perspective, guys, team perspective from a successful season for me, right? Top 10 offense, defense, right? 11 wins on the season, win NFC South, and host a playoff game. From a team perspective, to me, that would be a successful season for the Atlanta Falcons, right? How they get there, how they make it happen, We don't know. But if the Atlanta Falcons can hit all those those widgets and those stepping stones, I think um we talking about a really good football team, right? On paper, you're looking at it, maybe you might see some holes in here or there, but from an offensive standpoint, I can see them being that top 10 offense. I really can, right? You got a solid quarterback, been in the league 12 years, knows the system already, have the pieces around him to do it, make it happen. Defense, not so much being a top 10, but in some categories, the Atlanta Falcons were top 10 last year, right? So if you just fix with some of the things that you make and fix, uh, we heard from our all pro safety said he wanted to be top 5 in categories, right? So I'm not even saying top 5, I'm saying top 10. So the goals they set for themselves are even higher than what I'm saying, and I'm just saying top 10. So you know 11 wins, I think is really doable. Like I said, I have not done the win and loss record for this team yet, for schedule standpoint. But 11 wins, in my opinion, should be doable. If they get 11 wins, they can win NFC South and they can host their first playoff game in the Mercedes-Benz stadiums. For me, that's a great team success. And somebody might have it higher than that, but for me, that's where I stand. So Ryan Collins said, what's good? What's good, guys? So for me, that's team success right there. If you're looking at that, you gotta like where we sit with those guys, man. You gotta like where we sit with those guys, right? Now, right, it's all about the team, 100%. You gotta think of team first. It's always about the team, right? Always gotta think about team. However, right, Hall of Famers, Hall of Fame guys, All Pro guys, they get their accolades by their individual success, right? So, um, we have to look at that. Wallace says, um, I think 12-5, right? 12-5 even better, right? Like I said, I like 12-5, but 11-6 for me. I'm just saying 11 wins. I think they can improve by 4 games this season, just by the quarterback play alone. I'm just saying that quarterback play alone, I think they can improve by 4 games. It's just the way I'm looking at it. Um, we'll just have to see how it pans out. Worst case, while it says it's 11-6, exactly. That would be a success. I agree with you 100%. That would definitely be a success. All right. So, guys, when you think about it, you're right. Like I said, individual success, right? So, team comes first. No doubt about it. You always got to put team first, because if you put team first, you always will have a winning culture there. You always kind of figure out what you can do if you put team first, right? So that's where you look at it. You put your team first, and most of the time, everything will always come out on top, right? However, I would argue, if guys set goals for themselves, right? And I mean, individual success, it helps the team, right? You don't want to be selfish and things like that. But if you go out, let's just say Grady Jarrett. Right? Grady Jarrett said he's want to come back from ACL and he want to have 8 sacks this year, right? Individual success. So Grady Jarrett puts his foot down. He want to have 8 sacks this year. Put 8 sacks. Those 8 sacks will definitely help the team get to those 11-12 wins that we're talking about. Jesse Bates, he want to improve on his interception total from last year, right? I think he had 3 interceptions, maybe even 4. I can't remember. Guys, you can fact check me on that. 3 or 4 interceptions, but maybe he want to say he want to have 6 or 7 interceptions this year, right? Grady Jarrett 8 sacks, you know, Jesse Bates get up to 6 or 7 interceptions. Now we're cooking, right? Because creating turnovers to get the ball back to your offense, you know, create, negative downs on from Grady against sacks, right? And I'm just talking about 2 guys right now. I'm just talking about, 2 of our all pros on the team, right? Grady and Jesse, right? Those guys set individual goals and things like that. and start to have individual success, right, it uplifts the whole team, right? So teams first. But when you start putting these individuals, you know, um, goals out there, and some of these guys never let the fan base knows their goals and things like that, right? They pretty much just go out and keep it private and try to shoot for that goal, right? They don't let everybody know they're trying to go for it. And at the end of the year, maybe they'll let us know, right? That's what they do, right? But you got guys now. You got Armor Ebiketie, who I think is an important season for him, right? Because he's coming up on that contract here soon, right? So Armor Ebiketie have a big season. Zach Harrison, probably going to get his first start this season. Maybe he needs to have a big season, right? What kind of goals that he setting for himself, right? AJ Terrell, we haven't heard anything about his contract. Is he going to play this season on that last year of his contract? That fifth year option. Maybe he's setting goals, right? To try to have some takeaways this year, right? All those guys I just mentioned, guys, if they have, above, average seasons based off what their individual success would be, it will uplift the whole team in general, right? Now we have heard some players, talk about, what they want to achieve. Now we heard Bijan Robinson, right, said he want to go for 2,000 yards, right? That's his goal. That's what he set for himself, right? And that's the shoot for the stars, right? It's not that many running backs have ran for 2,000 yards in the season, right? But Bijan Robinson, he's put it out there. That's his individual goal, right? So by for him just shooting for that, right? Trying to be the best he can be to try to go for 2,000. Not being selfish because we know the kid, we know he's always team first, but trying to shoot for that 2,000 yards and they get 1,400 yards, right? That means it's going to help this team in a whole with his individual success, right? That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a guy like Kirk Cousins, right? Trying to make sure the Atlanta Falcons know you made a mistake drafting Michael Penix at number 8 because I ain't going nowhere, and he gonna have his best season ever. He's gonna put up Matt Ryan MVP type numbers, in 2016, right? That's what Kirk Cousins could be shooting for, right? We don't know the individual set, but all those guys that I talk about, they have the individual sets that they want, right? In the end, it will help the team. It always come back to the team, but individual success, I think it's going to be huge, really huge for this Atlanta Falcons team, right? And I'm looking at guys I just mentioned, right? I'm looking at a Kirk Cousins, looking at a Bijan Robinson, looking at a Kyle Pitts, who's really, ready to prove that number 4 overall pick was valid and that rookie season that he had was not a fluke, right? He got a competent quarterback to get him the ball. He's 100% healthy, and he can go out and prove it this year, right? What is his interview said? Can he get another 1,000 yards as a tight end, right? Now we talking about a lot of yards. I mean, Bijan trying to get 2,000, Kyle trying to get 1,000, right? I'm pretty sure Drake already said that he want to go out and because he know he left a lot out there. That's what he said, right? He want to go out and prove that he is the number 1 receiver in this league, and he just ain't had opportunities that he need, right? So all those guys I'm mentioning can bring this individual success, which contribute to the team success to help us get to that 12 or the 11 win goal that we're talking about. So let's look at some of these comments here. EQ says, is the O line the same as last year, or did we lose someone? Will quarterback trust him? Yes, we have the same O line. All 5 starters coming back, which is really, really big, huge thing for this Atlanta Falcons team, right? I thought they kind of took a step back in the running game last year, and I don't know because the way Arthur Smith called the plays. I think he ran a little less last year. I don't know, but this is one of the best offensive lines in the league right now, right? They're definitely top 5 offensive line. They have the continuity. Some of these guys have been playing together for 3 or 4 years, right? Now Matthew Bergeron is going to be a rookie. He's going to be better in year 2. We already know that. Jake Matthews is just steady, right? He's not, a liability, but he's not like a all pro either, right? He's just a steady left tackle who's been here for 10 seasons and look like he's not slowing down, right? You got one of the best right guards in the country in Kirsch Lindstrom, right? You got him there, and that tandem with him and Caleb McGarry, even though Caleb McGarry has had some flashes where, kind of make it a little shaky, but he still have played well. So that continuity on that offensive line, and Drew Dahlman is a prototypical, a zone um, blocking center, right? He need to probably brush up his technique on pass protection and things like that. But when it comes to that running game, guys, this one of the best running game offense. And the question, will the quarterback trust him? I think he's trying to develop that trust, right? He's going to help those guys out with the protections and what needs to happen, right? One thing about Kirk Cousins that a lot of people don't know, he does know how to get rid of the ball. He does not hold on the ball, does not have a lot of turnovers, does not make a lot of mistakes. So all those things are great things that we like to see out of Kirk Cousins. So that offensive line that you're talking about, yes, it's intact. All five starters are coming back, and they should even be even more time for them to gel and get even better. So yes, they all there. While I said yes, we had the same O line coming back. All right. But guys, from an individual standpoint, right, that's where I see, right? So a successful season from an individual standpoint, if these guys reach, some of their individual goals that they have. Maybe some of these guys would share that with us. Don't know, what they are right now. Like I said, we all heard Bijan say that he wanted to get 2,000 yards, which is, in this offense, probably not, that feasible. Plus, he got another tandem running back with him, you know, that that definitely can help, with the load. So you just don't know how much success that you know Bijan Robinson is going to get that 2,000 yards. But that's the kind of goal you want to hear from players for individual success, because that means they're pushing. If he's able to do that, that means we had a pretty good season, guys. It's just that simple, right? From a team standpoint, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so we got the team success, we got individual success, and then we have the coaching success, right? So we know that we have a new coaching staff pretty much, right? We have new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. We have a new head coach, right? Talking about the coaching success. I'm talking about these guys implementing these new system and helping us get to this lofty 12-5, 11-6 record that I'm talking about. That means they have to hit the ground running, guys. Now we talked about it, on Monday, about how long it take the team to gel, right, and all come together. I said around that November, December time frame. Well, if that happens, like I mentioned, around that November, December prime time frame, and these guys start to get on a roll with this new schemes and system, right? Jimmy Lake talking about fast, physical, and free, right? Um, Zach Robinson talking about utilizing all these guys, to the best of their abilities, to their strengths, right? That's the kind of thing we want to see, right? Now, if it happens sooner than November, right? If it happened in October, that would be awesome, right? But we want to be able to see these coaches, these new coaches, right? Jimmy Lake, Zach Robinson, be able to implement their systems and get it in place, and we be humming, in the middle of the season. That's success to me, right? If these guys can get this team ready to go. Now, if they can get them ready to go by week one, by all means, right? But I'm just saying, from my opinion, my perspective, implement a new offensive system, implement a new defensive system might take time, to get out there. Because you got to remember, guys, and camp and in preseason, teams don't show anything, right? They don't show their scheme. They just play the basics, right? Just see if the guys can can be in the spots they need to put in. Ain't no game plan, ain't no schemings, none of that out there, right? So it's going to take time to see the team gel. When the schemes get put in place and the game planning start to happen, right? It's going to take time for Kirk Cousins to learn, Zach Robinson rhythm, play calling, right, and gets down where he like to, on 2nd and 2, what he's thinking right here, right. You heard Matt Ryan, he said he started to think about, he can read Kyle Shanahan's mind, what play he's going to call next, right? How he's scripting his plays, right? Like I said, maybe Zach Robinson and Kirk Cousins can, get to that quick, and that'll be something smooth and great to see. But we don't know that yet. So for me, team success, success for the Falcons, middle of the season, if that coaching staff, that offensive coordinator, their defensive coordinator can be humming with their team by that time frame, to me, that will create the team success and go back to the number one, what I talked about, getting those 11 and what Wallace said, the 12 wins. So that's what I'm talking about. So Wallace says, if Bijan can stay healthy and play out 17 games, I can see him getting 2,000 all-purpose yards this season. Yes, all-purpose yards, 100%. But I think Bijan was talking about rushing yards, which would be astronomical. Now, we don't know the usage of these guys, right? We know Arthur Smith kind of outsmarted himself, right? Arthur Smith is the kind of coaches. Yes, I got this new shiny toy, but I'm not going to use them because you want me to use them, right? Um, and then you have coaches like Kyle Shanahan, like, I got this toy that I'm going to play with, and I'm gonna play with it every time I see it because you can't stop it, right? And Arthur Smith didn't see that philosophy. He wanted to trick you and use his stars as decoys and things like that. And then you have a guy like Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. You know what? We're gonna get the ball to our playmakers' hand and make them dance, right? All right. We're not gonna let you off the hook. You got to guard our unicorn and Kyle Pitts every play, because if you don't, he gonna eat you alive, right? That's what he did with Julio Jones. You couldn't stop him. I'm going to him. I'm going to him every play. He's the first read on every play, right? Until you stop it, and then once you stop it, I go somewhere else. But until then, I'm going to Julio because you can't stop him, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's how you can start to see something, right? So Bijan trying to get 2,000. I don't know. Maybe Tyler Algier does not get as many touches as you know he got last season because they ride the horse. Number 8th overall pick, right? That's just the way it is. EQ says it's a practice game, a test. Yeah, that's all it is. When they preseason, and we're gonna have some joint practices this year as well. Um, it's mono e mono in those. It's no scheming, it's nothing like that. It's one on ones, trench work, things like that. Playing because ain't nobody taking nobody to the ground and like that. Everybody want to stay healthy, right? So those are kind of things you want to see, but you won't get no scheming, no game planning in these practices and preseasons. And then Iker says, just don't get hurt. 100%, man. Like that's the scariest part about preseasons, about training camp and things like that. It's about injuries, right? And when people start to get injuries and things like that, right, that's where you start to second guess things like that. So you're right. That's what we don't want to see. While it says, um, I don't think they're going to run Bijan in the ground when we have Algier back there too, and they can keep. Yeah, I agree. That's why I say he don't. I don't think he get that 2,000, but 1,400, I can see that. I mean, he had what almost 900, over 900 and something yards last year rushing. I can see 1,400 rushing yards this year. Right? I really can. And one reason because I think him and Tyler Algier might run in lighter boxes this year, right? We talked about 11 personnel. They're going to have 3 wide receivers out there. Put 3 wide receivers out there. Usually defense have to go in nickel or dime, right? And if you do that, light boxes, right? Now Bijan gets to run on lighter boxes than he had to run, on the Art Smith scheme when they went heavy with 12 personnel and things like that. So just going to see different philosophies how Bijan going to be utilized. I think he's going to be utilized out of the backfield, like you said. So I think he could definitely have those all-purpose shirts that we are talking about. One of his favorite players, LaDainian Tomlinson, we know how he was used out of the backfield. Marshall Faulk, um, we know he's probably one of the most dynamic dual threat running backs ever, right? He was almost a damn receiver coming out of the backfield, and the way he ran the ball was just ridiculous. So, um, those two kind of guys come in mind when I think about it. John Robinson. So, um, good point, Wallace, to point that out. But those two coordinators right now, we have our special team coordinators who's coming back, but it's going to be interesting to see, right? We got a whole new kickoff rule, right? So that's going to be interesting too. Marquise Marquise Williams coming back. Um, so how he does with the new special team rule, kickoff rule, it's going to be huge for not just his team, a lot of teams, right? Um, I'm kind of worried about that first kickoff play against CP. I'm not gonna lie, the Steelers coming back to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, man, because you know he just need to get past that first line before CP could be gone. So just things like that, guys. It's going to be interesting to see. We don't know. I guess we'll get a little peek of it in the preseason, see what it's about, and see how teams is going to play this play. However, even those plays, they're not going to sure to tip their hand on how they're going to do things until the season starts. So um, we still won't really know until the first game of the season how teams are going to react to the special teams play. But the biggest coaching success that we need is our head coach, right? We found our man. We found Raheem Morris getting his second turn to be a head coach in this NFL, and I think he's not going to blow. I think he's going to hit the ground running. But for him, all this success that we just talked about, it hinges on what Raheem Morris can bring to the table, right? He's got to be the guy to bring everything together, right? He has to be that CEO. Everything falls on his shoulder. Um, he mentioned he gonna have to be the smartest man in the room, but the Bucks gonna start with him no matter what. So um, when we talk about coach success, how successful can Coach Raheem Morris get this team to meet the expectations that was failed to meet that would fail to they would fail to meet last year? Just that simple, right? We had high expectations last year. Everybody did, from the fan base, from the media, from the coaching staff, right? A lot of people had high expectations. Now, maybe the media not so much because we did have Desmond Ritter, and a lot of us fans and the coaching staff and the owner were pushing back on that, right? But now hindsight 2020, maybe the media had it right when they talked about Desmond Ritter, was not ready yet, and that will seem to be the case, through the season. But Raheem Morris it's all on him, right? He's talking about the coaching success. So you got a new offensive coordinator. You handpicked that guy. You got a new defensive coordinator. You handpicked those guys. Now we know Raheem Morris is going to put his fingerprints on the defense. We know that. I think he's going to have some input on offense as well. So he's not going to be just completely hands off. Because I think he learned from his first stint when he's with Tampa, right? And the interim coach he had that time in Atlanta as well. I think he learned a lot. I really do. I think, and he's gonna be, involved in most of this stuff to make sure that this team is gonna have the most success they can have. I mean, I just believe that. So Raheem Morris is got to be the key to bring all this together. And for me, having that coaching success is to have these guys in rhythm by the middle of the season. Right? That's just how I look at it. They have to be looking like they're in rhythm by the middle of the season. That's what's good for me. Wallace says we also have some good position coaches, without a doubt. Dwayne Ledford coming back is outstanding. Michael Petrie, our running back coach, um, our wide receiver coach that we got, linebacker coach, Jerry Gray, our defensive back coach, along with Coach Hood. Right, so you're 100% correct. He put together a great coaching staff, right? Like we talked about it on Monday. We got like 4 quarterback coaches, right? We're having these guys ready to go. Took Phil Yates and put him back in his TJ Yates. I said Keith TJ Yates, and put him back as quarterback coach. I think it's huge, for the development of especially a guy like Michael Penix. I think Kirk Cousins is on autopilot right now. I don't think he needs a lot of mentoring. Definitely still need to work his, footwork and things like that. That's the fundamentals is don't never leave. You still need to be coached up on those. But as far as, being a pro, I think Kirk Cousins already got that down pat. Michael Penix is the guy that's going to get the best, the best coaching that he needs, and he can learn from Kirk Cousins as well. So it's going to be huge. But you are right. The staff that Raheem Morris assembled and put together is, in my opinion, a great staff, and we're definitely going to see and hope it pays dividends. So these timelines that I'm putting up there and saying, half of the season, hopefully it's before that, man. Hopefully you guys can gel and be ready to go by, middle of the season. Start of the season. That would be outstanding, especially looking at our first 5 games on the schedule. So if these guys can hit the ground running, sky's the limit for the guys. And that 12 to 11 win game that me and Wallace mentioned would be something special to see, right? So from a coaching staff success standpoint, I think he had to have these guys ready to go by middle of the season. That would be a success for me, right? And then last but not least, guys, didn't want to leave out the front office because this is where it all starts right here. This is for the now and the future, right? So we talking about team building as a success, right? When we talk about team building, people put out draft grades, right away, right after the draft, and they grade teams, right? And if you go back and look at people draft grades, and then go look at that draft class that they graded high, graded low, right? It'd be all over the place, right? It'd be some day was right, some day was completely wrong, right? It'd just be crazy because you can't really project what's going to happen on the field when these young men get between the lines, right? But for Terry Fontenot, I think it's not just about the draft. I think about his free agent acquisitions that he's been able to assemble and bring in as well. I think he have hit home runs on pretty much all his free agency brought in. Only thing you can say from bringing in veteran guys is the trades. The trades have not worked out as well because it's been trying to bring receivers in, and for some reason, these receivers don't pan out like they should, right? So that's one of the things that um, we if you want to knock Terry Fontenot, but the draft class, we talked about that first draft class, right? It's starting to look, and it's not looking like a pretty good draft class because a lot of those guys are not on the team anymore, right? You still got Kyle Pitts and you still got Richie Grant. Other than that, I think most of those guys have parted ways. Darren Hall is gone. You got Frank Darby's gone. Jalen Mayfield gone. You got Ade Okendeji's gone, right? I think Avery Williams is still here as well. So you do got 3 guys that still, right? And I guess if you look at that, 3 out of 7 is not a bad average, right? But it's a lot of misses there, right? And the jury's still out on Richard Grant, right? I think we know what Kyle Pitts going to be. We got to see it again, right? And then Avery Williams, see can he come back from an injury where Avery Williams was drafted as a cornerback, but he was able to switch over to be the running back and look like he fit right in with that. So team building is always important because you have to look at what they put in for this season, this 2024 season we talked about, and that's when you look at guys like a Kirk Cousins, right? What they did last year with Jesse Bates, David Amayada, Caden Ellis, bringing those guys in, right? You going out drafting a Zach Harrison, hoping he can make that jump, right? Clark Phillips third, what he's able to do. So these are the pieces when you're talking about team building for success, right? Sometimes it take a while to see that success when you're trying to build a team, right? Because guys don't just hit the ground running right away, but you can see from the free agents acquisitions that he had brought in, Like I said, the undrafted free agents, guys like D. Alford, guys like Nate Landman, right? Guys that didn't get drafted but played huge roles for this Atlanta Falcons team the last couple of seasons. You like to see that, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Even the guys they bring in from the other leagues, like the XFL last year, right? The UFL, guys they brought in from both of those leagues as well, paid dividends, right? So you like the progress that the front office made from a team building, standpoint. But now these guys on the field got to develop, right? That's where the coaching staff comes back in when you're talking about player development, right? So it all ties in my opinion, when you're talking about a successful season for this Atlanta Falcons team, right? Start with Terry Fontenot doing his job, bringing in, what they call the recipe, right? Bringing in all the recipes, the spices, the sugars, you know, all those things. And then now it's time for the cooks, right? The coaches to put their recipe together and make a great gourmet meal out there on the field, man. That's what it's all about. I hope you guys like my analogy to talk about food. I'm not hungry. I don't know why I went there, but that's kind of how I saw it, right? When you're looking at it, but that's what you got to see, right? You need to see the pieces that the front office and it's collaboration. So it's not just Terry. The coaching staff play a role in it as well. But being able to bring those pieces in together, right? The veterans with the older guys, the guys that the diamonds in the rough, like the Nate Lamans of the world, right? Right? Who people probably had a high grade on. He just was injured, right? Guy just do 400 tackles in college, right? You that means something, and it translated to the NFL. We can see that, right? D. Alford coming from the Canadian Football League, finding him a role, a prominent role, being the starting nickel for this Atlanta Falcons team speaks volumes, right? Um, Talking about Jesse Bates for probably over a year, right? We probably talked about him being a free agent when he came on the market, and that's the first big sign that Atlanta Falcons did last year, right? Bringing in some arch rivals, right? And David Hummer-Yada and Caden Ellis, right? You have to like that. So these are some of the moves that, from a front office standpoint, team building standpoint, that's going to help us in 2024, right? It's going to help us in 2024. I believe that Harrison is gonna gonna contribute this year. I think Clark Phillips going to contribute, right? Those are moves that made that's going to help us in 2024. We already seen the Jesse Bates, the David Yadas, the Caden Ellis pay dividends last year. Now they need to just continue this year, right, in 2020, 24, right? It all lines up, guys, for success. Let's see. Wallace says, I think Terry, a good team, has assembled, and the scout team is good also. Yes, I agree with you. Those guys, man, they make great moves, right? And I mean, they make moves sometimes that we want them to make, and they don't make it. Then come back like, man, that probably was a good idea not to go there, right? So a lot of free agents still out there, which is, in my opinion, one of the strangest off seasons I've seen, because there's a lot of, especially when you talk about defensive backs, a lot of good defensive backs, that's really been good in the league that nobody has picked up yet. And I don't know if they're waiting for a team, or some people thinking they fell off. Whatever the reasons may be, it's a lot of good defensive backs that's still out there that have not found a home yet. It's going to be interesting to see if Terry Fontenot them factor in that we might need to bring some of those guys in. We just don't know, right? But you're right. Good, good scouting department. It's going to be interesting to see how our draftees take place. We might see some contribution in 2024. We don't know. We'll just have to wait to see. While I said it takes 3 to 4 years to determine if you had success in draft class. Your draft classes are definitely a 3 to 4 year process. It's no doubt about that. Sometimes you can find out right away, like a Jalen Mayfield, right? I think it didn't take us long to figure out that that he might not be the guy that we thought he was going to be. Frank Darby, just He just a basic player. He didn't do nothing great, didn't do nothing outstanding, right? So what he had to do in the jobs that he had to excel in those, and based off last year, it just wasn't good enough. So, that Darren Hall the same way, average, right? Okendaji injury, I think, hurt him. It's a numbers game. They brought in Bradley and Nye, you know, probably fit what Raheem Morris want to do more. So that's where they made those decisions. So you gotta like, the decisions they made so far. But draft classes, you're right, takes a while to figure that out. Um, they might be asking too much money for 1 year. Could be the reason they're still. Yeah, I agree with you. Those some of those free agents out there, they know what they're asking for. But I can tell you the safety market is not that great anyway. You're not getting paid a lot being a safety. Cornerback market. I'm surprised. A lot of teams have not went out and picked up some of these cornerbacks because there's a lot of good receivers in this league. Matter of fact, Atlanta Falcons got a couple receivers we're gonna have to deal with coming up here. You know, that Philly game is going to be really, really challenging for our Falcons defensive backfield, right? Then we know we got Mike Evans and Godwin with the Bucks. Um, so I'm not too much worried about the Saints. I know they got Chris Olave down there. They did get away with Michael Thomas, who I thought was still used to cook the Falcons a couple games as well. So, um, but looking on the schedule, we got some pretty good receivers that we're gonna have to deal with this year. So we got Justin Jefferson on the schedule, right? Like I said, I talked about those guys in Philly. We talked about those guys. Got George Pickens going to be a problem in week 1, right? So we got to see, you know, what the Atlanta Falcons um, going to do from a defensive back because they're going to get tested really quick here. So that's what I'm talking about. But guys, from a team building standpoint, success, right? So when you paint the whole picture here, guys, I started out talking about team success, right? That's where it boils down to the team success. I talked about top 10 defense, top 10 offense. Um, get to 11 wins, win a division, host a home playoff games, right? That's success for me. We start there, right? You go to the individual success, you talk about guys getting the numbers they want, getting turnovers, getting sacks, getting yards, right? Putting up big numbers in the passing game, putting up touchdowns, no turning over the ball. That's success from a team, from an individual standpoint, right? You go to the coaches, 2 new coordinators, being able to gel by the middle of the season. That happens, that will equal success. And then putting all the vets and the young guys and the free agents, putting them all together, building this team and being able to say at the end of the season, this was a successful season, right? Now, success is in the eye of the beholder. I started off by saying every team ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl. So if you don't win the Super Bowl, you can say you failed, right? But if you're going to be a realist and look at where your organizations is, where your team's at right now, what you can believe in, right? You got to measure success in steps, right? We do got a new coaching staff, right? You have to give Raheem Morris a little time to be able to put his fingerprints on this. However, right, you got to have some wins. And for the Atlanta Falcons organization, who has not been to the playoffs since 2017, the success with them simply it should be to win NFC South, host a home playoff game, right? If they achieve that, it would, in my opinion, will be a hundred percent a successful season for the Atlanta Falcons, and we definitely will have nowhere to go for up, right? Getting to 11-5, I mean 11-6, 12-5 will let teams know this is why we picked Michael Penix at number 8 because we don't plan to be in the top 10 in the draft in years to come, right? This answered that question, right? Because we know what we had and we can afford to take our future quarterback at number 8 because we knew we could win the NFC South. We knew we could host a home playoff game. And just like Raheem Morris said in his first meeting with the team, right? You get to the playoffs, you don't know what could happen. That's where you talk about success, right? You get to the playoff, you don't know what could happen. That's what I'm talking about. So, guys, that's my opinion. That's why I stand. I'm definitely interested in hear you guys. What's the team success is for you for overall? Do you have any guys that you think should want to have individual success in certain numbers that they trying to get? Like Arm Katie, should he be pushing to get 10 sacks this season, right? Um, like I said, just Jesse Bates, do he want to increase his NFL his interception total, right? These are some of the things that we talk about. We talk about success, right? That's where I'm at, guys. Let me know. While it says I think they're going to do what the Texans did last year and catch teams off guard. I hope so, man. I hope so. I hope so. Oh, I really do. As I said, our team was off this week. I think they got 2 more OTA practices, practice sessions. Then they go to the mandatory mini camp, and then by that 5 week layoff where you know players and coaches go off for their vacation before they start for the training camp at the end of July. So a little bit more football left before we start getting to the real deal of things. Um, Stay tuned because we're definitely gonna be putting out videos throughout the summer. Um, won't be as many, but be on the lookout for those. We definitely still talk Falcons football. So that's all I have today. Thank you guys for tuning in, talking about the Atlanta Falcons' success for the 2024 NFL season. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.